So I'm here once again with Jay King, and man, the Boston Celtics look really, really good right now. Coming off a really encouraging win over the Houston Rockets, 111 to 95. They're just really hitting their stride, especially defensively. Jay, I'm sure a million things stood out to you, but what primarily stood out to you in the Boston Celtics win tonight?
I mean, their defense was just everywhere yet again. They're forcing turnovers at a ridiculous rate. They've had 16 steals today, which they've only done 9 times in the past decade. It was like they were down 15, kind of not really going through the motions because this team doesn't really go through the motions, but they weren't really locked in. And then all of a sudden, Stevens went to that Johnson, Sullinger, Crowder, Smart, Bradley lineup, and they forced 5 turnovers in 2 minutes, threw down a 15-0 run, took whatever was left of the Rockets' hearts, and just raced away. Had it tied by halftime, crushed them in the third quarter, crushed them in the fourth quarter until the final couple minutes when it was garbage time. And that's the Houston Rockets on the road. Like I know they've been struggling, but just another great win for the Celtics.
Yeah, that's the Houston Rockets on the road on the second night of a back-to-back, in which the first game was the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I mean, it's crazy. They've been so good. Especially when you look at that lineup that you were talking about, that Johnson, Crowder, Sully, Smart, Bradley lineup. Bradley had the lowest plus minus, and that was 18. I mean, the highest one was Smart with 30. And I mean, just watching Marcus Smart right now is just honestly a pleasure defensively. Today he was 1 for 11 from the field, and I think it was one of the Reds Army guys who mentioned that it felt like a great game for a guy who shot 1 for 11. He came up with six. He came up with 5 steals, dished out 6 assists, and he was just honestly great on both ends, but especially on the defensive end. Um, the Houston Rockets did not help themselves. They looked awful. Jay, just kind of a heartless effort. I mean, what did you see from them tonight?
It was like they weren't running back on defense, and like even in his pregame press conference, like Kevin McHale was torturing those guys. Like none of these guys are playing defense. We've had guys who have been good defenders before; they're not doing it now. He literally singled out Dwight Howard as the only guy who's consistently tried on defense and like given them solid D. And then there was none of it. Like they did not respond to his calls in the press. They were lazy. They gave up a bunch of easy shots, I thought, from the beginning. And then once the Celtics got going, they just really, I thought, just folded, collapsed, didn't want anything to do with it. I mean, that's a Western Conference finalist last year.
Right.
To look that bad this early in the season, they're now 4-7. It's just weird.
It really is. I mean, like you said, this is a Western Conference finalist, and this is a Western Conference finalist that added Ty Lawson. I mean, on paper, this team should be really good. And even in the first half, you kind of saw maybe how they would be good. You saw them moving the ball around, finding corner three-point shooters. They got a lot of corner threes. Trevor Ariza knocked a couple of them down. It's just weird to see, and it just really looks like a team that isn't gelling, that just doesn't kind of get along right now, which is the
Yeah,
exact opposite. Which is the exact opposite of the Celtics, which is pretty fun.
yeah. I thought the most interesting thing of the post-game locker room talk was that Brad Stevens told the Celtics at halftime, I want you to hold this team to less than 35 points. This was the Houston Rockets with James Harden, MVP candidate, on the second night of a back-to-back on the road, and Stevens had enough confidence in his defense to say, guys, I want you to hold them under 35 points in the second half. And they almost did it. They would have if it weren't for the last couple minutes with the bench. So the defense is great. The Rockets are not great. And the Celtics are 5-1 in their last 6 games.